Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the United Stand. This is your Sunday fix of everything going on United and football. There hasn't been much going on for obvious reasons. We know about that and everything that's happened this week. We're hearing that football is going to be back this week in Europe and back in the EFL. Maybe the Premier League will come too. Ricky is joining us today. In fact, there he is just below. So I might as well start going through the list of guests we've got on today. Well, not guests. You know about Beth. You know about Charlie. Charlie, first of all, Estrella in hand, chilling out this weekend off from football.
Yeah, it's been a weird one, unnatural. It's almost like going back to like the COVID lockdown time where it was like I wasn't sure if the football was going to be or when it was going to be back. So yeah, it's a weird situation we're in.
Yeah, it is. Beth, weekend off from, well, not all sport, but football, definitely. It's been a weird one. Looking forward to it coming back this week and getting back to it. I mean, you could say it came at a right time for us with the defeat in midweek. You could say, well, league-wise, probably didn't come at a good time because we've actually in decent form, but we just won it back, don't we?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It was bad not having football this weekend. Like I really did miss it, but I was worried about Palace away. To be fair, I was. So it's not like a bad game to miss. And yeah, I found myself watching Barcelona last night. I was like, it's trying to find something to watch. But yeah, hopefully it's back next weekend and we go back to having football every week.
That's it. And I've dragged him back from Spain. He's been doing a tour of Spain, Ricky. Mixed in with Portugal as well. But we dragged him back to Wivenshaw. Wivenshaw kid is back. Rick, how are you doing, buddy?
Very well, mate. Glad to be back.
Good man. Loving the weather?
Weather's not so great, no, but it's good to be back.
It is. Right, we're breaking down. It isn't the hard way, it's the hard way. I'm going to bring up lots of points, lots of important things that Ten Hag has implemented so far. I'm going to get everyone's opinions on it. We're going to debate each one going forward. And we want you guys to get involved in the comment section as well. There's lots to get through. And obviously, we're going to do a little bit of a look ahead to, we've got the Europa League game on Thursday. So let's get into it, and let's get into that at the end of the show as well. But first of all, I'm going to get into the first thing that it's the massive debate amongst all United fans at the moment. I'm going to come to you, Ricky, first, because this is something that you've been on about quite frequently now, which is the forward line, which Ten Hag has pretty much. I think this is the biggest thing that he's done in dropping Ronaldo so far. But in terms of the way people are talking about Marcus Rashford, not Marcus Rashford as a number 9. I want to get into this first. It's Rashford on the wing. Is it Rashford in the middle? When Martial comes back, does Martial come in? And what do we do with Ronaldo ultimately? In a pecking order, Ricky, you go through it, get into it, go into as much detail as you want, mate. But when Martial is fit, does he come straight back into that team? Do we try and work Ronaldo and Martial in there? Is Rashford the best option for the wings? You can bring Alanga in. What do you think of Anthony? So far, Rick, because we've not spoke to you in detail on football matters. Forward line, first of all, and what Ten Hag's done with it. Where are you at with everything? And are you happy with the way things are going? Obviously, the results are good in terms of the Premier League, but where are you at with it? And do you think there is another option and we can do it a little bit differently?
Obviously, he's got plenty of options now, so there will be changes as we go along. Maybe he's not changing the team much in the league, obviously. But certainly, come the Europa League games, there will be changes. Although he's got to be careful, you know what I mean? With three points down already in the Europa League, so he's going to certainly going to want to try and win the next couple of games in the Europa League. So it'll be interesting to see how he does mix it up. But to answer your question about each of the forwards and how they're doing, obviously Martial's been injured. He was flying in pre-season. He's only had half a game in the league. And in that half a game, he did really well against Liverpool. He made the second goal, didn't he? I mean, obviously, we'll never know now. Had he not come on, we might well have not won that game. We were under pressure a bit in the second half. And for him to get hold of the ball and feed Rashford through. And I always say goals change games as well. You know, if Liverpool would have got the next goal instead of us, they might have gone on to win the game, let alone draw it. So, you know, it's a vital piece of play that Martial did that helped. I know Rashford took the goal well, but... you know, it helped to put us 2-0 up. And without Martial on the park, that particular thing obviously wouldn't have happened. It doesn't mean we wouldn't have scored another goal. But so I think when pre-season he played well. The only bit of play that he's had so far in the season, he's done well. So I think he will be in Ten Hag's mind to start getting starts. Probably when he first resumes playing, he probably will spend a game or two on the bench. But if he does well in a 20-minute spell or half an hour spell again, I think Ten Hag, I think he's got him in his mind for favourite for the number 9 spot. Certainly think he was favourite above Ronaldo for the number 9 spot before the ball was kicked. And I think Rashford has been playing there basically because Martial's been injured. A lot of people would have thought, by the way, even if I'm right that Martial was his first choice, a lot of people would have thought Ronaldo would have been his second choice. But whether it's down to fitness yet, I don't know. Whatever the reason is, Ronaldo, I don't think he's even second choice at the minute. If Martial's first, so that's an interesting one.
Yeah. I'm going to spread it across quickly. Beth, Vicky's touched on Martial. I want to get into Rashford in a minute as well, but Vicky touched on Martial there in terms of the interviews that he's done recently and bringing up losing the number 9 shirt, his injuries. One thing Ten Hag has done is make sure that Martial is 100%. And I think this is key now. We've heard about how it looked like he was mistreated or mishandled in terms of his injuries, and now it's hampering him going forward right now, Beth. I mean, on that there, do you feel like Ten Hag obviously has realised what type of player he's got here? We spent a lot of time with him, talking to him in pre-season, but it looks like he's not going to rush him back until he's absolutely bang on the money. And that's important itself, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if Martial's coming out and saying what he said, I think Ten Hag will know all about that. Probably had conversations about it, so it's really important. And to be honest with you, when he came out and said that, he's obviously telling the truth. Like you can just tell. It's really poor that Ollie was allowed to play multiple players for injury consistently. It's just it's a manager that just shouldn't be happening. It's really bad for players' careers, and it can cause long-term injuries. Which what we're seeing now with Martial, it's no coincidence that he's now consistently getting injured, having to play through injury. It's not right. And I actually feel sorry for him that at the time, no one was coming out saying that while he was getting slated across the media, supposedly unfairly as well. So, yeah, I would have said something if I was Martial a lot earlier, if that was the case, just to touch on them comments, because I've obviously not been on. But when it comes to Ten Hag with Martial, you've got to make sure he's 100% fit. I agree with that. At the moment, we seem to be winning games without him. And to me, that's like when we get him back, it just adds something even more to the forward line and it makes it even better. Because for example, when Ricky said when he did come on against Liverpool, there was a massive difference. And I thought even though we played well, the forward line looks even better with him there. And I agree with Ricky in the fact that I do think he is number 1 choice. I think Rashford's second choice. I think Ronaldo's third. So I think when Martial is back fit, hopefully he can get him playing consistently. And I think obviously he'll need time to come back into the team, maybe subbed off the bench and stuff like that, just to get himself fit and ease him into it. But once everyone's fit, I genuinely think he will be number 9. I think Rashford will be on the left because we've seen when Ronaldo comes on, he moves Rashford out onto the left, so he will go there. He said previously that both Rashford and Sancho really like that position, and I think he'll play Anthony on the right. And I think you'll see Sancho in some games, of course you will. And if he's playing better than Rashford, maybe Sancho will come in. But I think he really likes the pace of Rashford, and then the other winger to have some technicality to the game. It's why he was probably playing Elanga and Sancho at some point, because Elanga and Rashford similar players with the likes of having that pace, and Sancho and Anthony similar types of players where the more tricky wingers that like to have the ball at the feet and like to kind of take people on in that sense. So it'll be interesting to see what he does, and in the Europa League you might see him trying out different combinations. But at the same time, now we've lost that first game in the Europa League, it's really important that we go in with a really strong team in the next game, because obviously you want to make sure that the group stage is we're winning that. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it's important that we I know everyone wants Martial back, but he's got to be back fit, and I'm excited to see what he's going to give us if he does come back fit, because from what we've seen in pre-season, when he was fit, obviously all last season he was struggling with injuries as well, he looked really, really good. He looked like Martial that we previously had, but even more developed. So it'll be interesting to see how Ten Hag works with him. I think it could be a really good manager-player relationship there.
It is. I mean, Charlie, I've got an important one for you now. I think one thing that Ten Hag, I want to make this about Ten Hag. This is what this show is all about. We are going to hit the topics, but it's what Ten Hag has done. And what I didn't see on the previous managers was players coming in that have been sat out and actually going in, playing and giving more and doing more. And I bring up Elanga into this one because I thought Elanga had a decent game. against Sociedad. I thought he was very productive. I thought he was direct, and I thought he played for me without fear. Firstly, on Elanga, do you see him as that super sub type coming in, Charlie, for the Europa League and when needed in the Premier League now with what we've got? And do you feel like before long the pressure will mount on Ten Hag, or do you think he will hold off on trying to make a space for Ronaldo? Because this is a situation Ronaldo has never, ever, ever been in his whole career. On them 2 points, Charlie, how do you see it going from here?
I agree with you on the fact that Elanga, I thought he was our best attacking option in against Real Sociedad. I thought he was very productive, or in comparison to the other forwards that we had, it didn't look. He looked like he actually had a point to prove almost when he got the ball. Like he tried running at defenders, and I even said that in my player ratings that him alongside the 45 minutes that Eriksen had, that he was probably the best player on the pitch for us in that game. And I think this can be a really good season for him. I think Ten Hag again. Elanga's, when he came through, he hasn't had that coaching like all the rest of the players, your Rashfords, Martial, but Elanga's obviously a lot younger than these guys, so it can be vital for him, and I'm excited to see, you know, the development that he can hopefully show, because I think it's quite clear that he probably isn't ready to, or definitely isn't ready to start every single game week in, week out. He isn't probably as developed physically as you'd probably like him to be, and at the minute I just see kind of a hit and run type player where he likes to get the ball and just kind of abuse that pace, when obviously you I want to see more of, you know, the technical side of him come out. But in terms of the Ronaldo, I think Ten Hag has to ultimately stick to his guns with whatever he's feeling. You know, if Ronaldo doesn't impress Ten Hag, you know, and realistically, as much as he didn't have much service in that Sociedad game, you know, when he did get the service, I mean, look, we could be saying something completely different if that goal would have stood, right? The headed chance, if that would have not been offside, then we could be singing his praises. But I mean, other than that, you know, you saw him trying to drop deep and link play, but then that left space in behind that no one was exploiting, and I think Ten Hag's just got to stick to whatever he's set with Ronaldo. And again, it's very hard to imagine, and I've said this the whole time, that, you know, Ronaldo could be this impact sub, or this one game a week, or, you know, whether it is the Europa League games that he just plays and then he gets a cameo on the weekend. It's very hard to imagine that, but you never know the conversations behind closed doors, and you never quite know what Ten Hag is kind of asking of Ronaldo. Maybe he is trying to have that mature conversation and say, you know, like, look, we've got some very young talent in this team, and I want you to help me nurture them, you know, and help in various other ways. So I think ultimately, though, I think Ten Hag's just not got to show weakness, and that doesn't necessarily just go for Ronaldo, right? That's with every player along not just the starting 11, but the whole squad.
Yeah. On that one, actually, I just had a just had a comment come up a second ago. Ricky, I touched on this with you, actually, this left-hand side option that Simon brings up there about Ronaldo on the left-hand side. I mean, he does drift in games. He did drift a lot looking for the ball the other day, but I'm looking at options there, and everyone's looking at how Ten Hag might try and force him, and that's the point I was trying to get there in terms of getting that across to Charlie, Ricky. And guys, do get your comments in as well. We want to bring you guys in as much as possible on this one. But is there any other position in that forward line for Ronaldo, Ricky, in terms of like that front four for you?
I don't think so. We've got wide players, young, hungry wide players, pacey players. I can see Ronaldo getting cameos at number 9, and that's it. I want to touch on Elanga that you just said. I see a lot of people sort of saying no end products and criticising him. For me, and I'm glad Charlie said it earlier, I thought he was our best attacker the other night, and I thought he was playing well up to then. I thought he was unlucky to lose his place. The other night he beat his fullback for pace, but in really tight spaces. It's one thing being able to knock the ball into a big open space and race somebody, but he got penned in near the corner flag and managed to dribble it along the dead ball line and leave him for dead and get into the box, then pick his head up and pick out Fred. and Fred's shot got blocked and it went for a throw-in. It was absolute quality. And I don't know what people are looking at who are saying he isn't up to it. He did the same again. He beat the lad again. He got into the box. Again, he looks up for Fred. This time his pass was a little bit off. It missed him by a couple of yards. But it was a brilliant piece of play getting into the box. And another thing I want to mention as well, I was away when I watched this game, the goal against Liverpool that Sancho scored. Ilanga's part in that was fantastic. I don't think the other forwards have quite got the hang of being able to give the ball and timing it right and timing you run behind. He gives the ball to Eriksen and he only gives it to Eriksen in order to receive it back. He doesn't give it him for any other reason. He's using him like a wall. We haven't got other players who are doing that. And he looks fantastic to me, Ilanga. He gives that ball to Eriksen deliberately to get it back off him. Runs in behind, gets it back, picks his head up, gives it to Sancho. Again, people saying his end product ain't good. His end product's fantastic from what I'm seeing. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Seeing as well we're on the left hand side, and guys, don't forget get your comments in as well, everybody. But left hand side, Rick, obviously for me, is the only place for Marcus Rashford. People are still talking. I think Ten Hag's talked about him still being a centre forward, and still sees him as his main man there. But I mean, for me, I do believe that when Martial comes back, we've seen it on the tour, that's where Martial will go. So it looks like the left-hand side is going to be stacked, Rick, absolutely stacked. Whether if Anthony holds the right-hand side and Sancho comes across Rashford, Ilanga, like we've just spoken about there. But the one thing you're keen on, Rick, is obviously it's no coincidence in terms of we're winning games with certain players. And I mean, I've seen your little video about Fred. 7 games that Fred's played in recently, we've lost all of them. Rashford's been part of the last 4 games that we've won from the start. He does look more effective from the left in terms of cutting in. He seems to be more central when he's starting from the left and cutting in and escaping that centre-back and not giving the centre-back a chance, because if he does follow him across, obviously he leaves a gap in the middle. Do you feel like using Rashford now, he is going to play a part of the season? I know you're not too keen on him, Ricky, but in terms of Rashford going forward now, is it going to be the left-hand side? That's where we're seeing him more deadly. Can you see him developing at all as a centre-forward, or a different type of centre-forward than maybe one that holds it up? Is there certain games that he's going to be mixed around and put into that position and different positions in, depending on the opposition?
That's all as maybe, but we're assuming a lot there. I think Martial just seems to be injury-prone all the time. As much as I love him and as much as I want him back and I want him playing,
true.
We don't know how often he is going to be able to play, and I'm dreading. I'll be biting my lip every time he goes into a challenge when he comes back. I'm dreading him coming back and lasting 2 games again, or even half a game against Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? And then
don't be drinking hot drinks watching him, Ricky. I don't want you scolding yourself, mate. Yeah.
I will. I'll be dreading it. So you don't know Rashford. If Rashford is his second choice, if we assume he's the second choice, by the way. We're sort of assuming really that Martial's his first choice. The way Rashford has scored a couple of goals recently, he might think that he might be first choice now. But if Martial is his first choice, he needs to get fit and play regularly before you even need to think about Rashford playing elsewhere. But if we assume that Martial does get fit and does control the number 9 spot, like you said, we've got numerous options for the left wing. I like Ilanga there. I like his work rate, his speed. I like Sancho there. He's got a lot of quality on the ball. Rashford's got the pace. He can get all different strengths. Rashford scored a great goal against Liverpool with his pace when Martial came on at 9, he put him through. So they've got different strengths. I like different strengths, and you're right in saying I'm not a massive fan. I can't say Marcus hasn't been playing well. One thing I did notice, by the way, in the Arsenal game, playing at number 9, there was a ball played up to him, and he had a man on his back who was wrestling into the ground, and he fought to keep that ball and ended up getting a free kick. That's something I normally don't see from him, and I think they might be working on that. I think Ten Hag might have gone, we've got to improve your hold-up play, and we're working on it. If that is the case, by the way, what have the coaches been doing for the last 3 years with him, or the last 4 years with him, when he hasn't been doing that job very well? Do you know what I mean? So there's lots of different permutations, there's different players that can play there, and obviously lots of different games in different competitions. So if Martial's playing at 9, I could see in the Europa League Ronaldo playing at 9, and then maybe even somebody else playing on the left. there's just going to be lots and lots of games, lots of different changes. If you was to say to me, from what I've seen so far, what would be my favourite front three? Let's say we had a cup final tomorrow, my favourite front three would be Sancho, Martial, and Elanga. From what I've seen so far,
Sancho, Martial, and Elanga. Well, we'll get. Actually, I want to move on because we don't run out of time. But it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on Anthony as well on the start and the type of winger that he could be as well. But Beth, next one I want to bring on, and this I know this may be a crazy comment right now, but there is every chance that this could be the signing of the decade for Manchester United, and that's Christian Eriksen. A free transfer, and this man, I think this is Ten Hag's biggest move so far. The realization in the first 2 games of getting it wrong and then not persisting with it and wasting time. He changed it up instantly and realized where Eriksen fit in best in this football team. And we've reaped the rewards. Because for me, I think Eriksen has been standout so far above everyone else this season for what he's been thrown at in terms of them first 2 games and where he was played. And then instantly, I think, has been just the silent assassin for us in terms of defensively as well as going forward. What do you reckon in terms of, first of all, could he be the signing of the decade? Because a free transfer and the impact he's had, Beth, it's been huge for Ten Hag.
I won't say never say never. For me, so far, he's not. I still really rate him. I think he's probably, in the moment, our best signing. I really like Lisandro Martinez as well. But obviously, when you think about the price that we paid for Eriksen, which was nothing on the free transfer, it is a brilliant signing. And he, to me, is everything that we wanted from Pogba. He spreads his passes really well from deep. He makes Bruno better, in my opinion, because it's not all on Bruno. Like when we scored the goal against Arsenal, I think it was Anthony's goal. It starts off from Eriksen. I think it was this goal where Eriksen plays a really strong pass into Bruno to feet, and Bruno's allowed to quickly turn through the lines. Bruno's allowed to quickly turn. Anyway, he gets fouled. It ends up going to Rashford. Anthony. That wouldn't happen if McTominay or Fred. Well, it would. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but it's more unlikely to happen if McTominay or Fred is playing that role because they simply just don't have the passing capabilities that Eriksen has. So you see his technicality is helping us keep the ball a lot better in the middle of the park, in my opinion. And I also think McTominay is playing better with him in there as well. So not only is Bruno improved, still not the player that I want him to be, still got further to go, but McTominay is also massively improved as well. And I do think it's because Eriksen, he does cover the pitch really, really well. I didn't think that we'd get that from him, but he does. He's running a lot. He's a smart player, so he gets in the right positions at the right times. And when he has the ball, it's very rare that he loses it. So as a number 8, I think he's the first name on the team sheet. And you saw that against Sociedad as well. It's interesting that he started off with Eriksen and then went to Bruno in the second half. Usually it's always Bruno no matter what. He's the mainstay in that team. Now you've got Eriksen there who is playing brilliantly and he's a lot calmer than Bruno as well. I think they complement each other really, really well. And I know a lot of people at the start of the season were saying that they can't play together. It'll be not defensive enough. But I think Eriksen's defensive work, not just in the tackle, but his positional sense, I think he's really, really good. So I'm so impressed with Eriksen. And I think he's someone that is so, so important to this team right now. And I think he's one of the massive, massive reasons, him playing in that position, that we are winning games of football in the Premier League.
That's it, Charlie. Beth touched on it there then in terms of Eriksen and the players around him that have improved. And Eriksen's come out and been talking recently and said, in terms of McTominay especially, he said the partnership that they're building up in midfield between the three of them, it's about learning each other's games and then complementing each other. It's like Ten Hag has always gone on this. It's always about the team. He won't mention one individual player. I've droned on about it constantly. It's about the link up. It's about the partnership, whether it's a 2, whether it's a 3. And that's what Eriksen is getting at. And it looks like the manager's words are coming out of the players' mouths as well. And that's something that we've never seen. I've definitely not seen over the last 10 years. And that tells you everything about the message. And it is getting across to these players. And if Eriksen can be the words of Ten Hag on that pitch with someone like McTominay, who, let's be fair, we've all sort of had our debates about McTominay. We've all got opinions about him. He hasn't been brilliant. But under the right manager, you never know. We could see what everyone else might have been going on about. All the other players in the Premier League have said they rate McTominay. But Eriksen, he's the perfect, like Beth said, I think, match in a way for McTominay. What do you reckon?
I love Eriksen. Honestly, the
Look at Charlie's smile. He really does. He loves him, doesn't he? Look at it straight away. He's beaming.
Eriksen is like, he's obviously a great footballer in his own right, but you've touched it there. Like he complements everyone else on the pitch as well. He makes everyone else look better that he's playing with. And yeah, like as you say, Bruno, you know, before Eriksen, Bruno can get in unreal positions, but it's just finding him in order to then, once we do find him, he can then, you know, as we've seen, get these passes off to Rashford, and whether it's Rashford, Ronaldo, Elanga, whoever it is. But now we have Eriksen who can drop deep and get it on the half turn and then find Bruno. Literally the Arsenal goal where Eriksen gets the ball and passes it straight to Bruno. He's then fouled, but it goes to, I think, is it Sancho, and then to Rashford, out to Anthony. Like and I almost feel like his work, just his whole game, even though we appreciate him so much already, I still feel like he's still somewhat underappreciated. And I feel like the more performances that he puts in over the season, people will soon, and not just Manchester United fans, like, you know, people will soon realise how effective and how much we needed a Christian Eriksen player in this team. He's honestly the performances that he's been putting in, and I mean, he only played a half against Sociedad, and he was, for me, with Elanga, the best player on the pitch, and he's playing 45 minutes of football. It's realistically, it shouldn't be happening, right? A player who plays 45 minutes shouldn't be the best player for the team, but I love that guy. I love him.
Do you know what, as well? What he does as well, what I've noticed, I just wanted to quickly add, is he's helping the fullbacks as well at getting across the midfield. A lot of the time, we've had problems where McTominay and Fred can't really get out of tight spaces, and they're not offering themselves to the ball. But where you've got Malassi and you've got Dalot, he's there to, like, if they're in a tight space, do that 1-2, take it on the half turn, and he can pass when he's getting pressed as well, which it helped us a lot, because a lot of the time we'd be in them positions and we'd either run into someone or it'd go nowhere. So it definitely helps it retaining possession. Still not retaining possession as much as we should be doing, but it's helped.
Like Beth said there, like Beth said there, in terms of Eriksen, mate, he knows his role, and that's important, isn't it?
He's a fantastic player. But two things I want to say here. I wish Beth would never have invented the phrase McFred. I'm the one who's argued, and certainly Adam knows this, and I think Beth knows. I've argued from day one, don't tar them both with the same brush, and nobody was having it. Nobody was having it. I said, it's Fred who's no good, McTominay's okay. It's Fred who's no good. And now, what Charlie's just said is that Eriksen's making McTominay look better, and a lot of people are saying that. But Eriksen played next to Fred at Brentford, and he played with Fred the other night. Fred hasn't looked any better when he plays next to him. You know what I mean? He hasn't.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
he's actually worse, I think.
I agree.
The better players
in a way,
playing together, the easier it is. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's with Fred. As I've said on this channel, I think it was 4 years ago, 4 years ago, I said, and people were bigging up Fred, and I said on it, and I remember it, I said, I fear for Fred because I haven't got a clue what he is. I don't know where he plays. I don't know what his role is. I don't know what he is. It's like all of a sudden last season we've seen good of Fred under Ralph Rangnick because he was playing further forward and he wasn't causing as much damage further back. Then Ten Hag starts pre-season. He's the lone holding midfielder, and we look good in pre-season. But then when the chips are down and the pressure's on, Fred crumbles. And Fred has had a horrendous start to this season. I don't care what anyone says. He has been appalling so far. And I think even himself, he would own up and say himself, you can see the disappointment in the man's face. That's what I'll say with Fred. He's just a difficult player to figure out for me. And I don't think any manager has managed to figure out where Fred fits in. And this is the problem, because he was part of the front five against Sociedad, and it just was not working, Beth, was it? He was like, every single journalist around us was saying exactly the same thing. It was like, Fred stinker, Fred's having a nightmare, Fred cannot play this position. It's like, where does he fit in, Beth? I just don't get him. That's the problem I've got with Fred. I love him, but I don't understand what he is or what he's going to do.
Do you know what it is? Honestly, I have to agree with you. He's had horrible starts this season, and the Sociedad game was awful. I tweeted out during the Sociedad game, please never let my eyes watch Fred play at number 10 again. It was horrendous. I can tell you that for a fact he's not a number 10. People were saying that they thought he was playing there to help Ronaldo press. Could have been the case, but for me, I think he's a number 8. But when you look at that team, there's number 8s that are better than him. Like, I don't see him getting in that position either. So for me, honestly, I think it's really going to be a testing season for Fred. I think he's like 29, 30 now. So I've always have said he should be a squad player. Like, he shouldn't be starting games, but he should be a squad player. But honestly, when you look, it could be as bad because it seems like Ten Hag doesn't fancy him really at all. I actually think in that game, if Donny van der Beek was fit, he would have been playing instead of Fred at number 10. I think that was the plan. But unfortunately, he was injured. I think if Fred doesn't kick on and like make some impacts when he plays and actually plays well when he gets the chance, you could see him on the sold list next summer. Genuinely, you actually could, because I'm sure Erik ten Hag will want to get in another midfielder. We know he wanted De Jong. He's still going to be after De Jong next season, and if he doesn't get him, it'll be another midfielder of that ilk. I would say De Jong's an 8. I would say Fred's an 8. You're going to replace him with someone who's better, I would assume. So I think he's really got to try and step it up. And I do think it was a bad position for him to play number 10. So weak, pushed off the ball. His passing was dreadful. I just think it wasn't his position. I think if in the Europa League game, if he does play, you'd have to see him at number 8 and judge it from there. But I have to say, it starts the season with the McFred situation. I've usually always been more on the Fred side, but I have to say when I've been like not wrong yet, because we'll have to see how the season plays out. But McTominay has definitely had a very good start to the season. I have to admit, he has.
You can't deny. Well, what you see on the pitch. In terms of Luke and your super chat, do you think Premier League games will go ahead this weekend? Well, the EFL is back on Tuesday, mate. I would assume the Premier League would follow suit. The games are thick and fast, and there's no room to fit them in. I think possibly if we can get the weekend games done before the Monday when the funeral is, then the Premier League will move things around to make that happen. That's just my opinion. That's not a definite, so please don't take that as gospel. But in terms of Fred and McTominay, that is an ongoing battle. Quickly though, I mean, Felix Ferguson tried to buy Eriksen. That tells you everything you need to know. Eriksen, can you imagine Eriksen alongside Michael Carrick? Oh my God, we would have no problems in midfield ever. Oh, give me that right now, I tell you. On the midfield, I'm going to stay there, Charlie, and coming to you on this one. And what I've loved about Erik ten Hag is not only, doesn't matter who you are, what your price tag is, what your ego is, how many trophies you've won. Casemiro came into the team as the first CDM that United have bought for that position in, I would say, real CDM in 10 years. Pretty much everything's 10 years tonight. No coincidence, that's when Ferguson finished. But I'm spanning it all the way back there. But he's not getting on the pitch, mate. You've got to earn your way back on the pitch, and that's what I love about Ten Hag. And I love Casemiro, don't get me wrong, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is that the best way to go forward? Can you do that with this quality of player like Casemiro, like Ronaldo? I mean, Casemiro's younger and probably would have expected to walk into a team that finished its worst Premier League season in history in United last season, mate. But Hag's having none of it.
Yeah, I mean, does it say that it wasn't really a Ten Hag signing? Like, did he, was it that type of second,
Panic.
third option? It was very, very well. Yeah, it was very clear that obviously Frankie De Jong was the main midfield target. So Casemiro obviously wasn't first choice, and the Casemiro thing was never leaked until it was basically happening, right? So I think, look, and Casemiro is a world class player, and I think even Liverpool fans were saying when he moved to us that Fabinho is no longer the best Brazilian CDM in the league now. So he's respected in everything he does. I think the fact is that he because he might not be a Ten Hag signing, and you've seen Eriksen and Antony come straight into the fold, even Martinez and stuff. He hasn't worked with or seen Casemiro with his own eyes, I imagine, play. He hasn't necessarily scouted himself, so maybe he doesn't fully trust him yet. Or really, obviously McTominay has been playing a lot better since Casemiro has kind of come in. So I mean, that's ultimately what you want, right? Is competition for places. I do think Casemiro will come good for us. Ultimately, I don't think he had a very good game against Sociedad, but it's just one game, right? And you know, a lot of people were saying when he's got Maguire and Lindelof behind him, and you know he's playing with Fred and stuff, but you know he plays with Fred in the national team, and he could have played a lot better. He was very sloppy passing and everything like that, but I've no doubt that, as I say, he will come good for Manchester United, and he'll be a mainstay in that starting 11. It's just kind of, it's not if, it's almost when he kind of gets brought into the team and is kind of, you know, sees more than the Europa League fixtures and maybe like 20-30 minutes here and there. It's just when Ten Hag, I guess, finds that perfect point of, you know, okay, you're going to have your first full 90 minutes in the Premier League here, and we'll kind of go from there. But if the Europa League game is anything to go off, then I think we'll be seeing probably McTominay a fair few more times.
Perfect man to bring right in on this one is Mr. Rick himself. Rick, you a big advocate for if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why? And what's your ratings on Casemiro so far? I mean, I thought he was poor against Sociedad personally. Charlie's got a point there in terms of like who he's playing alongside, and I know you've always made a point about giving the players a chance playing with the best team, Ricky, as well. Yeah. Do you see McTominay holding him off? Do you feel like that's the kick that McTominay probably has needed, knowing that there's quality on the bench ready to take his place instantly?
There's a possibility of that, but I think you know my feelings about being able to play with better players, and you know, as I've just said already, you know, I thought McTominay was okay before, and now he's playing with a better player. He looks even better. Casemiro the other night, you can see his class. Some of his passing is different gravy, and he sees things round the corner. He helps a few balls on into people's, you know, straight into people's feet, first time passes. You can see his quality. I'm not sure if he's fully fit. Do you remember the ball near the end where he was in our penalty area and the ball was running out of our penalty area towards the touchline, and he was chasing it? It looked like he was running in treacle, and one of their players just breezed past him and beat him to the ball. You know, he must have had a 2-yard start on this guy, and this guy beat him to the ball. You know, so we can't be having that in the Premier League. We just can't be having it. You know, whether he's going to get, I don't know when he's going to get up to speed, and if and when he does, you know, McTominay and Eriksen, if they're still on their mettle, then the manager's going to have a tough job on his hands. At this precise moment in time, he hasn't got a job on his hands at all. It's McTominay and Eriksen without any doubt.
That's it. Oh, you're taking me back there with that comment there. I think the phrase was treading treacle, Ricky. Right. I mean, I've heard that shouted from a sideline a few times when I've been playing. I'm sure Charlie in his prime has left a few people in his wake there, treading treacle, haven't you as well, mate? Eh?
I like that saying. I've never heard that before. That made me giggle. I like that.
I'm showing me age there. God, seriously. Now Charlie just put me right back down in my place with that one. Well, cheers to that, mate. Moving on. Beth, this is, I keep saying every single one's the bigger one, but what Ten Hag's done for me has been a breath of fresh air. But obviously, we know Mr. El Capitano himself, Harry Maguire, and basically dissecting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's defence, which is what it was and which is what it's looked like going to be for the last 2 years, 3 years now. The old Maguire, Lindelof, Luke Shaw, a Dalot between Wan-Bissaka, probably more often than not Wan-Bissaka under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he's just dissected it and he's gone, oh, well, no, you're not coming straight back in now. We thought under Ralph Rangnick, he dropped Maguire, but he came back in slowly but surely, Beth. Doesn't look like that now, does it? I think this has been massive so far for us.
Yeah, honestly, it's good to see that the Premier League games we have played, the 4 that we've won, I think it's 4 that we've won, isn't it? They're all players that we weren't starting regularly under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's completely new back 4. Obviously, Dalot was there, but he just wasn't getting picked. Malacia, Erik ten Hag's new signing, Martinez, Erik ten Hag's new signing, and Varane obviously often injury prone and wasn't starting. So yeah, it's really good to see. And I honestly think as well, when it comes down to the Casemiro thing, I agree with Ricky. I think he looked sluggish. I do. I think he needs to get up to speed a lot more. I mean, I have no worries about him because when I watched the Champions League final, he was a player that massively stood out for me. Like, he is brilliant. He's just getting up to speed with the Premier League. But I think also having, and I said this in my fan vlog, it's not like Maguire and Lindelof did anything wrong, because they didn't. I just think Varane and Martinez, you can play higher up the pitch. They get the ball out of the feet quicker and pass it on quicker. You see again with
to their
Maguire,
capabilities as such.
Yeah, so Maguire and Lindelof, you see again passing around at the back. Lindelof's going, there's no options. He's not taking the ball out forward enough. And the small things, but they make a difference when it goes on throughout the game. And I just think Varane and Martinez, not only defensively have they been brilliant, and I'm not saying Harry Maguire or Lindelof had a stinker, because they didn't. It's just, I think you could see when Martinez came on, it changed a little bit. Like, the passing is just so much crisper out from the back, I feel like, when they play, and that makes a difference when you, again, like Ricky said, the quality of players you're playing with, that does make a difference, especially for the likes of Casemiro. And you could see when he got the ball, he was trying to get it moving a lot quicker. But I just think maybe when you put him in front of them two, you'll see a better performance as well.
Yeah, on that one. I mean, Ricky, you've been a big advocate of Diogo Dalot. I personally spoke to him in the press conference on Wednesday before the Europa League. He's very well educated. He's a very smart boy. Has been a big part, and I did question him about the integration of Antony coming into the team. Obviously, the Portuguese South American connection is all too present at United at the moment. We've got a good little squad of South American / Portuguese in there, and it's reaping its rewards. But Dalot looks like he's found his manager that suits him as well, Ricky, because he is maturing very, very fast, and it's nice to see a player actually look like he can go to another level, or in fact just get better, because the regression in near enough every player over the last few years has been crazy, Rick. But Dalot and getting to the back four, are you happy with that as it is now going forward?
Yeah, Dalot's looking really good, I think, at the minute. He looks strong, quick. He plays with his head up.
Yeah, very strong.
He sees the passes in field into people's feet. I just think he's going to develop into a really top player. I'm happy with Dalot. The back four in general, they're playing better, definitely. The strength of Martinez is his forward passing for me. We came unstuck a bit at Brentford. It could happen again. Don't start thinking things like that can't happen again. As I've said often, you are going to concede some goals, and you'd be depending on the different strengths of your different players. There'll be different types of goals. So Martinez, we're probably going to concede one or two more because we're a bit weak in the air. But I think it might be it's a fine balancing out. But I think it's working at the minute because of his forward passing. His forward passing into the feet of the midfield players is much better than what we've been used to. The midfield players are managing to turn better and get a little bit more time on the ball when they receive the ball. So that's Martinez's strength. Varane, with his injury problems that he's had, I hope he stays clear of injury now. But Varane's looking good at the minute, so I'm happy with that. I hope he stays clear of injury. What I will say, in defence of the defenders that have played before, to listen to some people talk about look, I'm not a massive fan of Harry Maguire. Everybody should know that from the video I did 3 years ago that went viral, where I said Chris Smalley's better than him. And that's no disrespect, by the way, because Chris Smalley's a top player, and he still is a top player. But to listen to some people talk, you'd think we'd never, ever won a match with Maguire and Lindelof playing. We've beat City numerous times. We've beat Chelsea away. I can't remember if they were both playing, but I think they were both playing when we won in Paris. Do you know what I mean? And to listen to some people, you think we'd never, ever won a match. They're not absolutely horrendous, but maybe they're not quite as good. And they're certainly not as good at passing the ball, although Lindelof's passing's okay. Here's my point. We've now brought Eriksen into the midfield. We've now got hard-working wingers. When we were getting murdered by the likes of Liverpool and City, 4s and 5s, we had Greenwood and Rashford on the wings, and I know Marcus seems to be doing better. He's being coached better, I think. But at the time, they were staying too far up the field, and we were getting murdered. And I said this time and time again on here, we were getting murdered because the forwards weren't defending properly. We're now playing with two proper wingers, whichever ones play, whether it's Antony. I'm not absolutely over impressed with him, but I am impressed with his work rate. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the team shape. I'm happy with both of those things with Sancho and Ilanga as well. and Rashford's doing it better when he plays out there. So the defenders now are playing with a more solid outfit where the actual team shape's better. I think if we were to play again, I'm not saying we're going to go and necessarily beat City again or beat Liverpool, but if we suddenly had to play a game where the whole of the back four was Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof and Shaw, I don't think it'd be as bad as you think it is, so long as the midfield four of Sancho, McTominay, Eriksen and Elanga are there. It's the team that's defending rather than 4, 5 or 6 people.
That's it. I mean, on that, Charlie, Vicky makes a point there. They're not horrendous players. I still think there's a player in Harry Maguire. I mean, I loved him at Hull. I thought he was excellent at Leicester. I mean, I've never seen a defender carry a ball out, but obviously the pressure of wearing that captain's armband is a different ball game in a United shirt, mate. And this is the point I want to make. If you're not playing well, and it's quite clear he's not, you don't get back in the team. So like what Ricky says is true, but ultimately, Charlie, if you're not as good as the player that's come in ahead of you, you don't get back in the team. And when you do, you've got to take your chance. So I think that's where I want to go with this. It's like Ten Hag is making these players go, you've got to work to get back in. You ain't just going to walk back in. And that's important out of all of this.
Yeah, there needs to be repercussions for poor performances. There needs to be some discipline shown, really, and that goes across the whole team. You know, when you're not in form and it's a persistent thing, you shouldn't be rewarded for failure, right? It's not a thing that's should be rewarded in kind of any job or industry, right? If you muck up, you know, if we muck up, we don't get rewarded. Like it's not a thing, right? You get maybe pushed to the sidelines a little bit, like, you know, which Ten Hag has done with a lot of players, and I think it's the right thing to do. It's just happened a lot later than it probably should have with Maguire. But again, there's I still do think I agree with you that there is a player in Maguire. It's just is there the player that Ten Hag wants to use and the Ten Hag system that he wants to use? Does Maguire fit into that system? It's, you know, Maguire could probably quite easily go and play in the majority of Premier League teams and be quite comfortable. You know, he's quite commanding and he'll win his aerial battles, and he's quite a competent passer out the back, and he's quite good at driving with the ball out from the back as well. But, you know, when it comes to playing that high line and almost that sharpness on the ball, that pretty much as soon as Martinez came on in that second half, you saw when he got the ball, he was looking for the midfield's feet. He was looking to break lines, whereas there was countless times when Maguire got on the ball and he's pointing at people to, you know, go here, and the crowd starts to, you know, like move the ball. And it's just whether Ten Hag almost gives him that time to, or in certain games, you know, he sacrifices his this high line and plays Maguire, like, you know, like with along the likes of Lindelof as well. It's just I do agree with you that there is a player there. It's, again, there's a lot of variables that kind of come into it for me.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of people saying check the stats, it was terrible. Both Hull and Leicester. Yeah, stats are stats. I'm going off what I actually watched pitch side, and I did see a player there. I can see certain traits, but he's not in form. He hasn't been in form for 18 months plus, and I'm not going to just put my name to someone and then back him even when he's playing crap. I'm going to say it as it is. And Maguire has been shocking.
United did sanction an £80 million transfer for him. So somebody at Old Trafford obviously saw a good player at Hull.
Exactly. I mean, it was there. I mean, Jose Mourinho wanted him before for 40 million. It's the club's fault we didn't get him at that price then. Then maybe this tag wouldn't have followed him around. But I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finished him by giving him that armband. I can see Beth just chomping at the bit to get in on this one here. Go on, Beth.
I was just going to say there, I mean, I have always been an advocate of, you know, Maguire's just out of form. Hopefully they'll come back into form. But the more I watch it go on, I just think he's a player that he can't play in a high line. He just can't do it. So any top team that's playing in a high line, which is most of them, you're not going to work. The only teams he could get into are teams like Spurs that play a back five, Chelsea that, well, we don't know under Potter, but play a back five. In a back four in a high line, he just can't work. And I think players can look really good at Hull, etc. When you're playing Old Trafford week in, week out, sometimes you're not cut out for that level. Do I think Maguire at England is brilliant? I do. I said I'd still start him in the England team. Do I think he'd be really good in the back five? I think he would have been a good transfer for Chelsea. But do I think he can play in a high line at a top level team? I don't think he will be able to. Prove me wrong, but I just don't see it.
That's it. That is it. It all comes down to the times. It comes down to if you can adapt and take that step up. And quite clearly, he struggled with it. I do believe that he is protected playing for England with the Southgate system. I really do. I think it helps him. But it's like Pep Guardiola took over a championship winning, well, not quite, but a championship winning team in Manchester City. He got rid of a back five worth 150 million and spent $250 million on a new back five because that suited his system. So what everyone is saying, like Beth says there, is down to the manager. And that's, again, why we're making this show about Ten Hag and what he's done. He's not looking at what's gone before and what other managers done and what the price tag is. Who's the captain? Do you fit in my system? You're going to have to learn to. Otherwise, you're going to sit on the bench. I'll give you a chance here and there. Didn't play bad against Sociedad, but it's about breeding confidence, like Ricky said then. It's like, with the mixed match midfield, the mixed match defense that haven't played together, it gets awkward, and that was what happened. I think we underestimated Sociedad personally because I looked into it. I've been watching them. The weekend before, they drew with Simeone's Atletico, and that's no mean feat. We haven't managed to beat them in the last 3 appearances, let alone even get near scoring a goal. They did and got a point out of them. They've been beaten by one team this season, and that's high-flying Barcelona. They are no pushovers. They're a decent outfit. And last time they came here, we couldn't score past them at Old Trafford. People actually think that they're sort of minnow, and we'll find out when we go to their stadium. It is a very nice stadium. They have a well-established football club. So it was a tough game. I thought it could have gone either way, and a bad penalty decision pretty much stopped it being what the result should have been, which was another draw, in my opinion. It was even. Chances were rare, but on that, I'm going to move to that next. Now we've got to touch on our next game a little bit before we go on. Rick, I think we just got to win the next 4 games now against the minnows of this group, put it to bed, and concentrate as much as we can on the league games before the World Cup starts. Are you confident that he's just going to put these games to bed now, these next 4 games against Sheriff and I can never say it. Ammonia. It sounds like is it ammonia? Ammonia.
It's ammonia, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've never heard of either of the teams, Rick. I'm really not going to try and get into it and act like I know. But
Sheriff might be from Moldova.
They are. They beat Madrid in the Champions League last season.
This is what I'm going to.
Beth, stop saying things like that now.
This is what I'm going to come to. I believe they're one of those clubs that have had a massive input of cash into them.
Yeah, they're the Greek side of the Cypriot island, aren't they? That's why they actually are officially Greek, aren't they? They're not in Cyprus, but it's the Greek part of the island.
We're talking about Sheriff here, aren't we? Sheriff
Moldova. Sorry,
from Moldova.
Right, sorry.
And I've got a feeling they give Real Madrid 2 cracking games. I think they beat them in the Burnabout. Did they beat them twice even? I'm not sure. I think they might have even beaten twice, you know.
People in the comment section, let us know on that one.
Yeah. They certainly beat them once and give them a right hard game in the other game as well. So if somebody
I'm pretty sure they drew with Inter Milan as well.
He won one game and got beat the other.
Did he get beat? I bet it was a tight game. I'm sure I remember it being
something we can't afford.
Anyway, they're not going to. We can't. Even against this Sheriff on Thursday night, and this is the mistake that he made. You've just touched on it there, Adam. You bang on. They're a top side, Ted. They're a top side, and even though you've got to. It's such a difficult balancing act. Even though you want to give players a game and you might want to give some players a rest, it's vital that you get your situation in the group sorted out as quickly as possible. As quickly as possible.
Yes.
So if he'd have played a full-strength team against them, Sociedad the other night, or what has been the same team that's won the last 4 games, there's no guarantee we would have won anyway. But had he done that and had we won, then you're into your running and you've got 3 points on the board, and maybe you could take it a little bit easier. But now we're in a situation, like we've just said, don't know anything about this team, this Sheriff team, so I don't know whether much has changed since last season when they beat Real Madrid, whether they've lost some players. I don't know anything about them. But if they've still got the team that they had last season, we're going to have an hard game against them, even if we pick our full-strength team. Do you know what I mean? So So I don't know where he goes with it. He has got to try and get 3 points on the board. I'm sure this will be a trophy that he's got his eyes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Beth, will it come down?
Just by beating the Cyprus team, that won't get you through. These are people that we've got to go to their place. So I watched the first half of the. I didn't have time to watch it all. I watched the first half of the Sociedad game today. I heard the commentator saying that you need these first 3 points because of the new format of this competition.
Yeah. So if you finish top of your group in the Europa League, now you skip the round of 32 and go right into the top 16.
Got it. So he wants to win.
So you play 2 less games, which has been a big bugbear in the Europa League. But that happened to West Ham last season. So West Ham won their group and skipped the horrible round of 32 fixtures, which get right in the way. So that has really put us up against it, because it does look like we are going to have to go to Sociedad on the last game and win if we want top of the group, because I think Sociedad will beat the other teams as well, which Beth pretty much says what we need to do in terms of how strong and how serious, like Rick said, we need to take this game on Thursday.
I'd play full strength team on Thursday. I really would. I think it's so important that you win that game. If you draw that one or lose it, you're starting to worry about the Europa League group stage, and that's you lose one and then you drop points again. It starts to get away from you. You've got to go and win it. Put it behind the team. It was just a one-off, and then go on and win the rest of the group stages. You can't afford to put yourself under it with points again. So I think it's going to be one of them where you're going to have to play a full team, and it's just going to have to be done. Because I think you have got to think about the Europa League this season. It's a competition that could be really vital for us, and not getting top 4. I think we could potentially get top 4, but if we don't, Europa League, I think, is one of them competitions, and to get a trophy as well, it's important for this team to go. Dropping out of the Euro, not dropping out, but having to play that extra game and putting yourself under it in the Europa League, it's not good for the confidence of the players either.
That's it. Charlie, I thought top of this group was going to be a surefire thing, but just goes to show that if you take your eye off the ball for one game, and that was a home game as well, we lost in the Europa League, not a tricky away game after we travelled a lot, like off the back of 4 wins, and we went and lost the game, shows that there's no walk in the park here. And like I said, you take your eye off that ball and you start talking like Beth's talking there, it looks like a bit of an uphill task. Full strength for you? You going all in on this one on Thursday, or is it a case of you've got to look ahead in case the Premier League game against Leeds at weekend, and can you lose momentum? Leeds is a big game at Old Trafford if it is on this weekend as well, mate. So it's a tough balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, hopefully by then we might have an answer. If we do, and it is that the game isn't on, then I think there is no reason why you shouldn't go full strength, because you then have obviously that gap again. So, I mean, that would be for me, I think even if you just change necessarily the back 4 to the full strength back 4, and again play, whether it is the Alanga and Fred and that, as much as Fred wasn't that great, but get resting the other players again, I personally wouldn't. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of ways you can kind of work around it. But one thing I actually did want to say is, and I don't want to bring the mood down or anything, but does the Europa League work the same as the Champions League, that if you finish like 3rd or something, you drop to the Conference League?
Yep.
Oh my God. Oh, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Charlie, stop talking right now.
But yeah,
no, I mean, I see where you're going, mate. I know.
I didn't know if it was the same thing, but okay. But yeah, I mean, look, as much as I agree with Beth in the sense that the Europa League is definitely a competition that we need to be competing in, and it's probably at the minute for me our best shot at getting back in the Champions League next season. So
and a trophy, mate, and the trophy.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd bite anyone's hand off at anything right now. Any trophy. It could even that Bangkok one. I mean, honestly, it was brilliant. The LEDs, all sorts.
I got all close and personal to that Bangkok one. Trust me, it's no trophy.
Honestly, as well, if you can't compete in the Europa League, how do you expect these players to compete in the Champions League, which is where you want to be? It's like, come on now.
We can compete in that Europa League. I think that was just one of them games. We weren't quite. I mean, I said after the game, we were just caught cold. I thought the intensity was there. I thought we competed. I thought it was a very even game. And like I said, there were no pushovers, Sociedad. Yeah, they may have lost this weekend. It's always after the Lord Mayor show, isn't it? It's always the same. But they're not a pushover. We've literally struggled against them. In our last 5 games against Sociedad, we've only won 2. So it's other managers that have struggled as well. And let's not forget, they're a well-established team now. I just feel like the game was there. I thought we were okay. I'm not going to go in as worried as many people have been. I did see signs there that were decent as well. I know he's trying to mix some players in, so I would say not to worry too much. Darren, in before we finish up with the super chat, if we don't play at weekend, the next game after that is City away. It is after the international break. So if we do not play against Leeds, if that's announced, like Charlie said, before the Europa League, it has to be full strength because the players won't play them for another 2.5, 3 weeks until the derby away from home. So yes, that's the scenario that we're in right now. But we have finished. That is it. It's been a great topic show and great points made by the comment section and all our guests. I keep saying guests. I mean, Charlie, cheers for coming on, mate. Cheers for coming on.
No problem, as always. I enjoy the topical chats. It's good to get into.
It is. And Beth, pleasure as always. Cheers for coming on.
Yeah, good to be on. Hopefully football's back. Football's back this weekend.
And Ricky, glad to have you back in the country safe, mate. Cheers for coming on as always.
Enjoyed it, mate. It was really good, and I'm pretty confident the games will be on this weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rick, on that one. I think the EFL have set the precedent, and I think Premier League will follow suit on that. Guys, cheers for watching the biggest fan channel, independent fan channel on YouTube. That is officially what United Stand is. Just had to drop that little bomb in there. Thank you for all your support, as always. All your comments is supporting all of us that work here on United Stand. It is one big team, and a lot of work does go into it. So your support is massively appreciated. Do click that like button. Subscribe to the United Stand. Guys, it's been a roller coaster. It's going to continue. Whether or not we'll be playing at weekend, we don't know, but it's a big game on Thursday. I will keep you posted on everything going on United Stand. Stay tuned to all our socials. We'll see you in a few days. See you later, everybody. Have a good weekend. What's left of it anyway. Laters.